Okay, so let's take a look at how you can install a SQL Server reporting service in Windows. So you don't need to have SQL Server installed to install this service. However, when you are configuring your reporting service, you need a server. So in my case, I have SQL Server 22, and if you happen to have it installed, can proceed ahead with the SQL Server reporting service, right? So to install that, what you can do, simply search for SQL Server 2022, have it installed. Then next step would be checking for SQL Server reporting service, right? Then you will click on one of the download options explained in the documentation. Once you download the installer, next step would be you would have something like this. So you can double click, right? And once you double click on this particular installer, you would be able to run the service, right? It will tell you that install reporting services. It doesn't take any SQL Server version, but you will have to configure it later. Okay, so I already have SQL Server 22 installed, and I just happen to download the reporting services installer and I run it, and here it gives me option to install the free edition, which is developer, express or evaluation. So I'm choosing the developer one, so I don't need to enter the product key just in case if it is some enterprise or standard edition. So this is developer, it is free edition, so I will click next. Then in this particular option you will get software terms that you will have to read, and then click on accept the license terms. Make sure to read it just in case if you are running any startup or organization where you are going through some legal stuff. So it is necessary to read all of this before creating product on any such services. So click next. Now here you see install the database engine. You will need an instance of SQL Server to store the report server database, right? So install reporting services only because we already have the database engine, right? Now let's click on this. Then comes the install location, right? So here you can change this if you want, but I am going to keep this particular location as is. Click on install, then it will ask you for permission and it will start the installation. It will take some time depending on the amount of things it has to configure, and here you will also have to think of report builder. So I already downloaded the report builder setup. You can find it from learn page where you can see the report builder listed. There is also Power BI service that you can install. So here you can see report builder option. If you click on it and go to the next page, it will show you option to download that, right? So once we are finished with reporting service, we will go to report builder. There is also SQL Server data tools which you can download. If you have Visual Studio, it won't be hard, right? So let's wait for it to finish the setup. As you can see, it has started the installation. Okay, once the setup is completed, you will have option to configure manually and customize the settings, right? So click on configure report server, click yes. It will open up the report server connection. So basically it will ask you for your server name and then report server instance SSRS. Simply click on connect, right? And here you see your instance is started and it has connected to your database, right? So this particular local host I have named with some specific name. Then you have settings like service account, which you can check through network service or virtual service. Then you have web service URL, database you have chosen to use, right? So here you can change as well. So I'm keeping the defaults. Then there is web portal, right? Then email settings, then execution account, then encryption keys. A lot of options are not currently set up yet, right? Then there is file share account as well, right? So in short, you have option to connect to different servers. You can simply type your server name, find report server instance, you can select from the list, click connect, and like this you get connected to your database instance. Now this was related to your SQL Server reporting service. Next part comes is report builder. So we'll exit out of this particular setup. Now let's go to report builder, the installer that I downloaded. Previously I explained you about the report builder installer. So I downloaded this from the download page that appears from here, right? And it will give you multiple options to install report builder from web portal, from download site, then through configuration manager. So either of these methods should work. So I downloaded this particular installer, clicked download. Now once downloaded, and when you run the wizard, it should look like this. Accept the terms, click next. You can see the installation path. Click next for that particular folder. Then you have server name, default target server URL. This is optional, but you can skip that. Click next. Now next would be to clicking install. Now it will take a bit of time to start your installation, so you can check the status. Once the setup is finished, you can see that it has success message. I can click on finish, right? Now if we go to our SQL Server setup, so we have like SQL Server 22 where you have configuration manager. There is also one more folder called report builder. You can click on report builder and wait for it to load up, right? If report builder is successful and it lets me access all the features, that means we have our reporting services working along with this report builder, right? I can simply click on new dataset or simply use new report, then choose, let's say, blank report. It will show you interface like this at the now the thing is that once you have it open, you can also see that you will have to connect to your data source in order to fetch some data and create report out of that. So you can use connect option or you can choose data source. Here you can choose your embedded connection and then proceed ahead. That's one way. You can also choose data set and choose the shared or embedded data sets and use them within your reports, right? Once you use your reporting data, you can also run this and create the report out of that, and then the view will be available here. So going back, can also go back to the design view and executed view through this F5 button or the button for going back to design again. So we have managed to install your Microsoft reporting service and also the report builder.